Gentlemen, thank you for being here. I hope you hear loud and clear from this committee. There are lots of questions. You're asking lots of questions. This is not an opposition to free speech, though. This is actually a battle to try to protect free speech. We want to have good American dialogue. And the fear is that your platforms are being used by foreign actors that want to abuse our free speech. If two Americans have a disagreement, let's have at it. Let's walk it through as two Americans. If an outsider wants to be able to come do it, we do have a problem with that. And we're trying to be able to work through that. So we're grateful that you're here and to be able to walk through this, and we look forward to cooperation together to be able to figure out how we actually resolve some of these extremely complicated issues. I do want to be able to push on a little bit this issue about the type of ads and the type of content. Mr. Edgett, you have mentioned from your testimony that in Twitter, of the 131,000 tweets posted during the time, and I assume that means that September to November time period that you were tracking, only 9% of those tweets from those Russia-targeted accounts were actually election-related. The others were all social engagement, other issues, and I think that's being lost in the conversation that only 9% of the tweets were election-related. Now, my question is, for all of your platforms, what are you seeing from Russian-related accounts that you're tracking now and trying to be able to pull down or identify? What are the social issues that are being discussed right now from those sites? And I understand you can go back for the last 6 months if you want to, but give me some examples of the type of social issues that they're engaging with. One has already been mentioned by Senator King, and that's the NFL. Either boycott the NFL or take a knee on that. Has that been actively pursued on your sites? Give me examples of topics here.
So one example we saw following the election was an effort by the accounts we've identified to inflame some of the post-election demonstrations we saw. So some of the accounts turned to questioning the Electoral College as an example.
Okay, so let me walk through multiple examples here. So Electoral College is one of them. Some of them have been publicly reported that the site was used to try to organize events that were election protest events in certain cities, that it was sending out messages saying we're all going to protest at this spot, but obviously it was created by a Russian group. What else? NFL? Yes or no on that?
We've seen that activity.
Okay, what else? What other issues?
We've seen more limited use of our services, Senator, but among that I would say police shootings and racial issues.
Okay. What else?
Certainly immigration has remained a topic throughout.
Okay. Any other issues? This is part of the reason that multiple members, and Senator Heinrich mentioned it earlier, we really do want these ads to get out in the public space. We think there's great value for all of your platforms to be able to say this is the type of content that foreign actors are actually trying to put out that are divisive content. When we put it out, that's one thing. When you put it out, it's completely different. We think there's a great benefit for you to be able to say, when you're aware of things, please note this is the type of issue that's coming out, and this is what it looks like. And so people can say that's the type of thing I've seen before, or they can say I've actually liked on that before and didn't have any idea that that was Russian related. That'd be helpful. Can I ask a question? When were you aware of Russian activities on your platform during the election time? During the election or before your election? When were you aware that entities within the Russian government, whether that be the Internet Research Agency or other individuals that you knew of that were Russian, either government related or at least policy related, were involved in election issues on your platform? Before or after the election? And all three of you can say. Before or after?
We were aware of Russian state actors active on the platform prior to and through the election, separate from the Internet Research Agency, and we communicated with law enforcement about our concerns at the time. These actors were engaged in more traditional cyber threat activity, focusing on account compromise as well as trying to direct attention to stolen information that was hosted on other sites.
How far back? Early 2016, 2015?
We had seen activity as early as 2015.
Okay. Mr. Edgett.
Twitter also saw activity from the IRA on our platform and took large-scale action to take down accounts in 2015. We generally are aware of intelligence community reports, so became aware of the activity in the report that came out in January of this year. And then obviously through the retrospective work have uncovered the sort of what we think is the full extent. We're continuing to look and to research that issue.
Okay. Mr. Walker.
We've been looking at cyber espionage issues, accounts compromise issues for many years. It was only after the issuance of the report in January that we took a deeper dive on the particular kinds of things we're talking about here today.
One of the things that we're trying to address is getting additional information. Getting the ads I mentioned out before would be very helpful. Getting the type of posts that have been done would be very helpful to the American people to be able to see. Getting the statistical information would also be helpful. The statistics that you've given us are the number of accounts that are related to this, but it's not giving us the breadth and the depth of those accounts once they're activated. So for instance, it's helpful to know that 1% of those accounts were Russian related, but what we're not getting statistically is, was that 1% the first 1%? They actually created, launched it, and then millions of people saw it after that. Are they in the middle stirring it and advancing it, or were they beginning it? That would be helpful to us as well. And I know you have that data to be able to see, did they start it? Were they in the middle of broadcasting it? So just giving us the percentage of users that shared it doesn't help us. Knowing when in that process and what happened after that, that's what helps us. Y'all have done a lot of work on terrorism, on Islamic extremism, on the advance of ISIS. You've done a lot of work on child pornography, on human trafficking, on the sales of illegal drugs on your sites. We're asking for help on this area as well. Now, this is something that I would hope that we do not have to engage legislatively, or if we do, it's the lightest possible touch. This is something you have been actively engaged in other topics, and we look forward to cooperation in this as well, so that y'all are managing that. But I do hope in the days ahead we continue to protect a platform for free speech to allow individuals to be able to speak their opinions, whether it's agreed or disagreed on by other Americans, so Americans can engage in that dialogue. Thank you.